This is a very, very emotional case on either side. What point is the prosecution going to focus on? At what point will the defense drive home in their final remarks before the jury?
The prosecution is going to focus on how irrelevant it is that Kim Potter was extremely apologetic. So in her testimony, we saw her break down, we saw her apologize, but that is after what happened. Whether or not she was reckless prior to the shooting is what is most relevant. So the prosecution is also going to focus on that photograph where you compare the taser and the gun and say whether or not somebody who was reasonable could have really made that mistake. The defense is going to say the opposite and is going to say that she was this woman who was trying to protect her partner. She was also trying to protect the woman in the car because she was concerned that the order of protection that was out against Daunte Wright was for that woman. So they're going to paint this narrative not of a reckless person, but in fact of a protecting woman.
And again, her emotional testimony. Obviously, jurors are human. And so listening to that and to Daunte Wright's girlfriend on the stand, both very tearful testimonies. Do you think that this tends to affect jurors' decision making?
Absolutely. Jurors are loath to convict someone who appears very emotional and contrite on the stand. At the same time, though, the prosecution is going to say in their closing argument that you should not consider whether or not she was emotional. You can be totally reckless and commit a crime and then still be emotional and apologetic. So the prosecution is going to try to separate those in their closing arguments.
So Potter's attorneys, they're actually attempting a dual defense, arguing that Potter made a mistake by drawing her gun instead of her taser, but they're also arguing she would have been justified in shooting Daunte Wright anyway because of self-defense, because of trying to protect her partner. How much weight does that hold?
So whether or not the use of force was justified is indeed a very strong defense argument. But remember that the prosecution actually had similar testimony that went the absolute opposite way, claiming that there was no use of force justified. So the jury is going to understand that they have to go with whoever they find to be most credible of these experts.
Because there is no precedence for police use of force in cases like these?
There is a lot of precedent about police use of force, but the experts on both sides are saying the opposite. And because there's no dispute over the facts here, both sides are saying that this was an accident, this was not intentional, and they just have different experts. So at that point, the jury has to go with who they think is most credible.
How big of a role do you think these closing arguments are playing in jurors' decisions, or have most of them made up their minds by now anyway?
So this is fascinating because the timeline is important. The fact that on a Friday was Kim Potter's testimony and on a Monday are the closing arguments. Historically and statistically, over that weekend, the jurors are going to be needing to be a little bit refreshed. So they're going to pay very close attention to these closing arguments.
Who do you think has the better case?
I think it's the prosecution. For me, it was truly that photo, and jurors historically also remember photos as just very powerful pieces of evidence. It is a photo of the taser versus the gun, and it is very difficult to wrap your mind around how somebody with that level of experience could have really not been confused in that moment and not known which weapon to use.
Angela Sandella, thank you as always for being with us.
Thank you.
Well, it's going to be feeling a lot like. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.